Hi, my name is James Shepard, and today I want to talk to you about the surcharge laws in the state of New York and how it relates to kind of cash discounting and 50 state surcharging and things like that. So this is one of those videos where I'm going to start it out by saying I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. These are my opinions, etc., etc., etc. You can fill in the blanks there. So the state of New York has been a really big deal with surcharging because even as I believe maybe like even a year ago, you still couldn't surcharge in California, Texas, Florida, or New York, which are like the four biggest states that have the most processing volume and things like that. And so you can surcharge now in California, in Florida, in Texas, and so things are moving rapidly. The last kind of big state standing was the state of New York, and last week, there was a kind of a victory for surcharging in the state of New York, but I don't know. I look at it more as almost a defeat, to be honest with you. I guess maybe you could say it moved forward a little bit, but basically, we need to start this video off by making sure you understand the difference between surcharging and cash discounting. So surcharging is the concept of doing one thing, just one thing. You're adding a fee onto credit card transactions. You're not allowed to add a fee onto check and debit card transactions. You're only allowed to add a fee to credit card transactions with the surcharge because it's just one thing. It's just adding a fee. And that's what was not allowed in the state of New York. Cash discounting is two things. Number one, it's a price increase. So you're doing a price increase on everything in the store with a service fee or actually just increasing prices or whatever, but you're doing a price increase across the board, number one. Totally separate from that, you're offering a discount to pay with cash. So that cash discounting is protected under the Durbin Amendment nationwide. It specifically says that no state or card brand association can prevent or prohibit a merchant from offering this a discount to pay with cash. However, what a cash discount means has been a hot button issue as well lately. So everybody was kind of watching New York to see what's going to happen with surcharging because a lot of people, including myself, believe that somewhere between 2 to 5 years from now, everything is going to basically go to surcharging rather than the cash discount programs that we have today. So in New York, they basically said, sure, you can surcharge, and here are the stipulations. And the stipulations are, for many businesses, so ridiculous that it's just a non-issue. They're not going to be able to surcharge. And so basically the requirement is that you cannot add a surcharge in such a way that the consumer would have to do a calculation. Literally, the language says this, that the consumer would have to do a calculation in their head to understand what the final price is. What does this mean? This means you can't do a surcharge like we're going to add 3.99% at the counter. Because, and this again, even just for credit cards, a surcharge program, you can't do that because then when the customer comes up to the counter or if there's a sign on the door or whatever, they would have to calculate that in their head and say, well, I don't know what my final price is unless I take my purchase price and add 3.99%. Now, I think this is absolutely ridiculous for many, many, many reasons. Not the least of which is that consumers very rarely buy just one item in a store. So do you really think that they know exactly to the penny what they're going to pay when they get to the counter anyway? No, they don't have a clue, okay? So really stupid. But anyway, so the law basically says what you have to do if you want to do a surcharge program is you have to put a cash price and a credit card price, on every price, like on the shelves, on the, however you're pricing, you literally have to put two prices everywhere. Now, here's the bottom line. The reason why I think this was kind of a loss for surcharging and not a victory is because that is really a cash discount. So in other words, if you're going to have to go to all the trouble to put two different prices all on your shelves and change your menu in your restaurant or whatever to show two prices, why on earth would you do surcharging when you can just as easily do a cash discount and then you can charge the service fee on everything and pay virtually nothing or just a monthly fee or whatever, right? So the whole, benefit of surcharging so far has been that, hey, if you do a surcharge, it's actually, if you're doing it in a state that allows it, it's legal, it's compliant, Visa recognizes its compliance, and as a result, it's easier to kind of implement because, you don't have to worry about, oh, is this compliant? Am I doing the right thing? You just put it out there. But with cash discounting, everybody agrees, Visa agrees in their bulletin that you can clearly do a cash discount in a compliant way if you show the cash price and the non-cash price, right? Like if you show the regular price and then the cash discounted price. So if you're going to show two prices, why would you show the regular price and then, oh, guess what? We charge more if you use a card. Why wouldn't you say, take your prices and increase them by 4% and say, here's the regular price and here's the cash price? It's so much better emotionally for the consumer to see that, oh, I can get a discount if I pay with cash rather than to see, oh, you're charging me more if I use a credit card. So why on earth would you do a surcharge if you have to do it that way? It doesn't make any sense. So I emailed my friend Jonathan Rossi over at CardX, who's been kind of leading the fight for surcharging. And, there's a couple things that he said. I kind of printed it out here just so I could give you a few quotes from him that I thought were interesting. One of the things I asked him is I said, based on the New York law, do you think it would be compliant to do a per item fee at the counter? Because then they don't have to calculate a percentage. Hopefully they know how to add, 50 cents to, whatever. And he's like, no, it's still not compliant because, then they have to calculate, they have to add 50 cents to the order amount. So it's still, even that wouldn't work. Australia, Jonathan Rossi, because I asked him, because Australia right now is like 62% surcharging. So I asked him, I said, is Australia, do they have the same requirements for signage? And he said, to my knowledge, Australia does not require the same kind of disclosure as New York. Australia requires the consumer to be notified that a fee will be applied and see the amount of the fee before the transaction takes place. So again, like a sign at the counter would be fine. Again, I don't know. I mean, it was an interesting ruling, but again, in my mind, I think it just pushed everything back towards cash discounting. Right now, I really feel like the people that are dropping cash discounting in favor of surcharging, I really think they're making a big mistake right now. I really do. I don't think New York merchants are going to do a compliant surcharge program, and so at least not right now, not retail merchants, until this law gets challenged further and further improved. So I think what you're going to run into is, especially if you're selling in New York, the problem you're going to run into with surcharging is that you're going to have one of two choices. Either you're going to be selling something that nobody wants, or you're going to be like, well, we're going to just do surcharging anyway and do the sign at the counter. Well, now you're not compliant. So why not just do cash discounting? Cash discounting, you're adding the fee to everything. So it's, you know what I mean? To me, it's like, it just doesn't make any sense. So my thoughts on the New York surcharge law is that maybe we've moved it forward a little bit. At least now New York is saying you can surcharge, but at the same time they put these ridiculous requirements in place for signage that, in my mind, make it impractical. I also, as I expressed to Jonathan, I think it really pushed back the concept of these larger national chains like Home Depot and Sears and stuff doing surcharging, because I don't see them going to all of their shelves and adding two prices. I just don't think they're ever going to do that. So all in all, a victory. Jonathan Rossi calls it a qualified victory for surcharging. In my opinion, I think it was actually a defeat for surcharging because I think, number one, it created something that's just a mess, and also because I think the requirements actually are going to push merchants more towards a true cash discount, a compliant cash discount, because if they're going to have to put two prices out, it just makes a lot more sense and it looks better to the consumer to say, here's the regular price and here's the cash price, rather than to say, here's the regular price and then, oh, here's the higher price when you pay with a credit card. People aren't even going to understand that. They're not going to know that. Are they going to put in a little disclaimer that says, but if you pay with a check card, it's, the regular price? Like, it's just too confusing. It's ridiculous, and I don't think it's going to be a big plus for surcharging. So we'll be following that closely, and I'll be updating you more, but want to give you a little update on that and how I think things are playing out. Right now, if I'm out in the field selling right now, I'm selling cash discounting, trying to get it as compliant as possible using like Mint POS and Paytech and these other POS systems where they put the service fee on everything and the cash discount as a separate line item. And I'm going to try to do everything I can to be compliant, but I'm selling cash discounting until surcharging becomes realistic and something that can actually be sold that merchants are going to want, and doesn't have all these crazy restrictions, especially if I'm selling in New York. My name is James Shepard. Have an awesome day.